It's me, it's Michael B. And welcome to Michael B. and
Wait,
Justin K.
what is going on, Michael B? So, oh, wait, hold on a second. This is not how we do it. Do we just went live and it was just like that? It's supposed to be like this. Hold on. Hey guys, welcome back. Welcome to another Home Arcade podcast where today we have a special guest. That's right. We got Mr. Michael B in the house, and today we're going to be talking about pinball. Do you know why? Because pinball is dead. It's officially dead. Nobody cares about pinball anymore. And we're going to put the nail in the coffin and be like, this topic is over. But actually, the truth is, Michael, you've been talking about how you've been wanting to get like a real pinball machine, and I've been thinking about it too, and I'm gonna come forth and tell you exactly why I've been considering to get a pinball machine. But I also want to know why you want to get a pinball machine. We talk about the different options. There's a lot of options out there. You already own pinball machines. I already own pinball machines, the virtual type. Also want to know from the audience what they think of all this. Also, if you want to call in and leave a voicemail for tonight's show, call 515-661-4305. I only have one voicemail right now. It's because pinball topic is dead. No one cares about it. Only one person called in. But if you want to call in, there's still time, and we'll get you in on the show, part of it. All right, so Michael, here's the thing. I want to tell you this real quick. I bought a house recently because chasing nostalgia. Remember the episode with the barn?
Yeah.
I was like, I want to own a barn. Like literally while it was premiering, I looked at my wife and I said, why don't we own a barn? She's like, let's do it. So we started looking at houses with barns, and then we realized we didn't want to live in the country with a barn. So we bought a different house, but one that still had the extra size. Yeah. So space has become less of an issue. So I've been thinking about getting a pinball machine because, Ralph made a video on Jurassic Park and I got super jealous. Now, Cool Toy made a video with Jurassic Park. I'm getting jealous. And this is a thing where it's like YouTuber FOMO. It's like,
yeah.
Am I missing out on something? So there's my quick motivation. What's yours, man?
You're not wrong. It's a very similar one. I went from just getting very into VPin last year. Like, how much I got into VPin. I bought every single Arcade1up VPin cabinet that came out, was overloaded with FOMO on that. I got the AtGames Legends Ultimate or AtGames Legends Pinball as well. And I thought that was going to really be enough to hold me over, and that would give me my taste of pinball. But the more I played it, and then the more I experienced real pinballs when meeting different people and going playing their tables, because it's not a relevant thing here where I am in Newfoundland. There's no place you can just go to and go play pinball. Even we don't have like a Dave and Buster's here. We have in Canada, it's called the Rec Room, which is a chain of entertainment centers and restaurants attached to, I can't remember, Cineplex Odeon theaters here. So they don't have pinball there. So there's no way to play it other than going to a collector's house or a random bar. But through my many experiences going over to my friend Mike Dalton's house and other friends' houses and playing real pinball, then going back to play my pinball, you get that it's awesome, but it doesn't really give you the full experience of what pinball is. There's still such a stark difference. I mean, you play a real arcade cabinet and then you play an Arcade1up. Sure, you're going to notice the difference in the quality of the cabinet, but it's still the same feeling. You know what I mean? But pinball, it's something completely different.
Okay, then maybe you've already taught me something, because buying a real pinball is definitely something that's on my list of, I don't know if I want to call it a bucket list, but list of things that I want to do. But maybe I should play them first. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I went across that too, because where I live on a small island, I started reaching out and I was like, does anybody have a pinball table to sell? And I started reaching out to communities, and I got in touch with different Canadian groups where they just have like this random Canadian group and means to transport pinball cabinets right across the country. But what I did discover very quickly was they're sometimes harder to get, And if you're not knowledgeable, you can end up just buying something like the first thing that comes up. And there's always that risk, right? I think I told you about it privately, that somebody possibly has a bounty hunter Gottlieb cabinet here. And like I was all in, but then I'm thinking about it and I'm like, do I still want to drop $2,500 on this cabinet? Or do I want to save up and get something I really want that I played and know what it is?
Right. Well, let's talk about, I mean, why isn't this enough? Because that's a way to look at it. I own this, you own this. And I'll be honest, out of every machine that I own, this is played the least.
Really?
Yeah. Like I'll play, let's see, the Arcade more than this. I'll play my, let's see. Yeah, my Street Fighter 2 edition more than this. And I have a Big Blue as well. Yeah. And I wonder if it's because, literally, it's like, I did turn it on the other day and it didn't ask me for an update. So, but I got that firmware fatigue. Like, is it even worth turning it on, you know? And then I think I did myself, like, I don't think I should have bought the Zachariah packs, because it then caused me to have an overwhelming amount of games. It's just like more games I'm never going to play. Do you know what I mean? It's like the NES Classic and the Super Nintendo Classic, they were smart to only have like, you know, what was it, like 30 games on them or something like that. You know, and maybe I'm not a real gamer and that's why.
You're not a real gamer?
That's right. A real gamer, you know, wants fewer games, right?
No, it's a weird situation where even if you ask a lot of like the most ardent collectors, like I myself almost had a full NES collection at one point. And what was really bizarre about that, I have access to every single game on the original hardware that I could play. And I always played the same like 15 gaams. Like I was like, oh my God, like look at all these games I could play. Do I want to play Cowboy Kid? Do I want to play, Kickmaster? I'm just going to throw in Mega Man 2. And it was always Mega Man 2.
Yeah.
So I get it. And it's kind of the same daunting task when you're playing like on a Raspberry Pi. You've got like 10,000 games. You're probably going to spend more time looking through games and trying to decide what game you want to play than you are actually playing the game.
Right. Well, that's one of the things that's actually appealing to me. It's weird. Like, I might consider selling this and maybe even the Arcade1up Star Wars that I have for the Mandalorian table right here. And here's the interesting thing. Part of it is it's not necessarily like, okay, out of all of the pinball machines, like this is the one that I want. This is the one I can sell to my wife. Like, hey, I'm going to get a Mandalorian because she loves Mandalorian. Like when Mandalorian came out, I remember when we first watched the very first episode, she didn't watch it with us. It was just me and Evelyn, and we were watching it. And then that big reveal on the end of episode 1 was like, what? And then we're telling my wife, like, you should watch it, right? And she's like, this is boring. And then that last scene of episode 1, she's like, oh my God, I'm in. And she loves Baby Yoda more than I do. She loves like the Mandalorian. She's probably watched it like, no joke, 5 to 10 times. She's watched the season 1, season 2. She brought her sister over, you know, a couple months ago, and we watched it with her every Friday. We ran through the entire thing. And so, and then I work for Disney, right? So I get all of these like discounts, you know, for working for a Walt Disney company. And it's just like, oh, we get 20% off this. Boom, boom, Yoda. We're buying this Baby Yoda, this Baby Yoda. So I think I could be like, I'm just going to own one pinball machine, and it's going to be this Mandalorian. And she'll be like, okay. And you can put it like in the basement out, not in this area, but like the main area.
Yeah.
So, Michael, what is the situation with your significant other? Is there a barrier to entry because how you have to pitch it and sell it?
Yeah, it's really tough. When I explained to my wife that I was possibly going to sell my the two Arcade1up pinballs that are more video gamey, so the Star Wars and the Marvel, I explained to her, I said, I'm going to let them go. And she knew the night before that I was watching videos on like real pinball. I was actually watching videos on the Mandalorian pinball itself. And She said, "Oh, you're just selling those Arcade1up ones so you can go out and get a real pinball table." She said,
Right.
"What do you think they?" I said to her, "I said, not right away. What do you think they cost?" And she said, "I don't know, something stupid like $2,500."
Wait, is that why when you started to search for older pinball machines, the price was about $2,500, not 6, 7, 10,000 on
Oh,
the?
no. That was just a coincidence, right? Like the guy who had the bounty hunter, I looked up, what is it, Pinside? I think the forum is where you can get an idea on what prices are. So they gave me an estimate that it was about $1,000 US. Usually Bounty Hunter sells for. So
Mhm.
when he got back to me with his real price, I was kind of caught off guard at $2,500. But it's one of those weird things. There's only 1,000 tables made. When was the last time it was sold? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, though. If you take a look at a lot of the different options that are out there, right? So, of course, you got Zen Pinball, and, of course, Arcade1up is got to be coming out with another pinball machine this year. Many of us have speculated, and that was the motivation for the thumbnail that I had made, that it's very likely Mandalorian's hot. You know, we got season 3 coming out?
Yep.
So maybe they'll tie it to season 3. They already, Zen has already got these Mandalorian tables. Maybe Arcade1up will do a Mandalorian. I'm not really sure what they'll do for Marvel. You look at the pinball effects tables. They have more Star Wars than they actually released on the first one. So maybe they'll do another iteration. But a lot of people just want that interactivity, to be able to play online, to be able to submit the high scores, and what other ideas Zen and Arcade1up can come out with. But I feel like a year later, the virtual pinball from Zen, for me, it's a little lackluster. The reason why I say that is because out of all the machines, and maybe I got a problem, like the way I'm positioning it, in like the way physically where it's at, it doesn't get a lot of traffic. I don't know. Is it like that for you? I mean, you have 3 of them, right? Like, you constantly playing them?
I'm constantly playing my Attack from Mars because I like that game a lot. Like that, it's funny that you mentioned like your AtGames Legends Pinball is your least played arcade cabinet. Like if you go down my arcade, I've got 19 different machines down there to play. I think it's 19. Lost count. So I've got 19 machines in that arcade. Attack from Mars is still the most played thing that I have down there. Marvel and Star Wars less so, because it's kind of a different experience. Like Attack from Mars, you get on there, it's real pinball, you're in and out sometimes in like seconds. With the video pinball, and they go a little bit longer. It's a little bit easier, so it takes more of a time investment. So I don't play them as much. I'll come back when I'm really interested one night to play them. But I'm surprised that they don't get more play in your area, because I find them to be one of the things I'll say about the LP. I don't find it to be very comfortable to play. They made it a little bit too short, and like there's a lot of things I really like about it, but they really missed the boat, or that's not the right term. They missed the mark when they were designing the cabinet shape, the cabinet height, all that stuff. Arcade1up nailed it in that aspect because I think it's a very comfortable machine. It's at the right height. It looks like a pinball machine. It's very aesthetically pleasing, even without the art. It's a better looking and built machine, in my opinion.
Yeah. But what about, instead of buying, like if you're a real gamer and your goal is to play the game,
term, Justin.
I know, I'm saying that little, I'm not trying to tease you. I'm just trying to, okay, so check this out. So if you're trying to, enjoy the games, what about 4K monitor, build your own, get a PC? There's a lot of advancements coming out. Like I spent just a little bit of time, like I barely know anything about virtual pinball, but what I do know is there's a community of people that are basically redesigning some of these games, right? Like using the latest technology, and they're not yet released, where we're talking about like super high quality, high fidelity. I think it's like an HDR mode for some of these, the shadows. They're using the latest, like, what is it, Unreal Engine or whatever, to be able to, better than like the technology that even Zen has been doing, where they recreate these tables. And I don't know, there's a guy named Freezy I was following for a little bit, trying to get into it, try to understand what he's doing. And he showed some demos and examples of like what they can do, and it makes me think, like, if you're talking about virtual versus real, wouldn't virtual be like better because it's a computer And then what if the mechanical parts break? This is kind of like the Arcade1up versus a real cabinet argument, right? Like, your CRT is going to go out. What are you going to do when that happens? Your PCB is broken, and then you got to spend $700 on eBay to get a replacement one. I mean, have you thought about that?
Yeah, a friend of mine, I'm lucky enough that I've known a guy for the last like 20 plus years. Just so turns out that he's the only person in Newfoundland, the island I live on, that actually knows how to fix pinball cabinets. And he sent me a picture the other day. He recently bought a Gottlieb Black Hole in Haunted House, which is like the trinity of the Gottlieb games. Not the trinity because there's only two, but anyways, he sent me a picture of his black holes out. He just lifted it up and showed me everything underneath. And he was like, here's the next week of trying to figure out this wiry mess of what's wrong. And it's very concerning if I had to deal with it myself. And I'm sure that if I got into it, it would become a labor of love and I would learn more about it and become passionate about trying to fix it. But I've also got that backup, that I've got that friend that's right there that could help me. And if you don't have somebody like that, a community that's close by in case you run into real trouble, I think that's where this becomes difficult. Like if you're watching videos of other people trying to fix it, say, maybe
right.
that might be a little bit tougher than having somebody that can just come over and try to help you with it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I have that. Like the guy that I bought the PlayChoice 10 from, he owns the local arcade. He probably has about 100 arcade machines or so. I think he owns 400 machines total, he said. Yeah. He has like 3 different arcades across the... And he lives like a couple miles from me. And he says to me when I first met him in person, he goes, you need a pinball machine is what you need. And I think he says that because he's like, that's where my bread and butter is, right? I'm going to make some money off of this kid. But he's that help that I could have too. But, you know, there's one person I want to get his opinion. And I'm going to mute you just for a second, Mike, because otherwise it's going to echo. So let's hear what this guy has to say about pinball. You hear it, Mike? Oh, come on. Mike, you can't hear that? Hold on. You couldn't hear that? Oh, come on.
Is it not playing? Or is it just supposed to play for me?
Jeez, okay. This is stupid. I can't show it. All right.
That's not good.
I was like, I can't show it. It's going to reveal everybody's phone number if I share screen. This is stupid. All right, hold on a second. It's okay. It's okay. Well, I want to show it because it's in. I haven't done audio on StreamYard showing a voicemail. Just give me 1 second. This will take a second. Okay, so share the screen, share system audio. We're going to go over here. You're going to see a picture of the Mandalorian from there, and then let's do it. All right.
Easy question. It's a very easy answer. What do I want more? Is it either virtual or regular? I'm going virtual all day. I don't got time to be putting in no maintenance on no machines. I give me a virtual table. I can play whatever I want, whenever I want. And if I want to play some extra games on it, I can. Just like the AtGames Ultimate Pinball, Ultimate Extravaganza machine, I love it. So that's my answer. Virtual all day. Have a good one, Justin. I'll talk to you later.
All right. So CT Jason, he calls it the Ultimate Legends Pinball Extravaganza. All right. So he says virtual all the way. That's the thing. Virtual all the way. And I think for sure, like, that's a place to start, right? Like, that's inexpensive. You could get the legend. Here's what's interesting, right? If you want to get $749, right? $749 for this guy. $749 for this guy.
Yeah.
We're now in a world where, for some reason, these cabs cost basically the same. I think maybe if I added this to cart, they'd be shipping, I think, maybe. Is that right?
I'm not sure. I'm not in the U.S., so I don't... I've never ever tried to buy anything from AtGames, so I don't know how it works.
Anyway, and in fact, I didn't watch all of RGT's video today, but he got a sponsored cab, right? A promotional cab from them. And I did see that in his description it had your link. Did you talk to him about that sale a little bit?
Not about the sale. I knew that they were trying to get in touch with him to try to offer him something, and they weren't getting an answer. So when he did my show a little while ago, we were talking about it, and he had just got the iArcade, and what had happened was he gets all these promotional messages all the time. Not like me, because I don't get them. I don't know about you, Justin. I'm not here batting away the offers, but for him at the time, he was getting a lot of product offer. He had heard out from someone from AtGames had reached out to him, someone from iArcade. And then when he moved into his house and he had more room to actually look at the stuff, he decided that maybe I'll take a look at it. So he had taken the iArcade one, and I mentioned to him, I said, yeah, I know AtGames is trying to get in a hole with you. There's an employee there that might only work 2 hours a week. I think he's trying to get a hold of you and send you out something. So that's what happened there.
Oh, that's funny. So then also with all of this, there's more options, right? So as mentioned by Sathius, does that sound right? What about the Oculus Quest 2 virtual pinball? Like that is yet another, I don't know if that's this video here. Do I have it?
That's
maybe that's Grogu's, but
no, that's the real one.
Yeah. Right. But the Oculus is yet another option for that's Arcade1up. Whatever, I'm all over the place. Have you played that? Have you played the VR?
Yeah, I did a sponsored video on it. Oculus Oculus actually sent me an Oculus Quest, and they gave me the code for Star Wars Pinball VR, and it was really impressive. Like the Mandalorian table, I can't wait till that hits either Steam or the rumor is that maybe there might be an Arcade1up table coming with that on it. So I think people are going to be really excited. That's a really cool table. Like it's video gamey, super video gamey, but awesome.
Right. So what is so we have all these options, right? So it's like, okay, you got the AtGames Legends Ultimate, you got the Arcade1up version, you got the Stern version if you want to spend thousands of dollars or a lot of money, right? And then you got Zen Star Wars, Zen Studios, and then there's the Oculus Quest version. I think we don't own this, but we have access to all the other less expensive ones. Then why would we consider buying a real cabinet? I want to know from you, like, what is the drive? What is the real motivation for that cabinet? Or, for a pinball machine?
Well, it's all Ralph's fault.
Everything goes back to it being Ralph's fault. Are you serious? Like
no. But
no, when that video came out, it probably did like pique your interest more.
Right before he put his video out, Cool Toy had already put out his video of him getting Stranger Things. And if we're going to talk about a FOMO basis, Cool Toy had put a picture up on social media of him bringing something home, and I was like, he's got a real pinball table. So I wrote him and I was like, what is it? And he wouldn't tell me, but I knew it was a pinball table. And then when I saw it was Stranger Things, that's not what I thought it was going to be. I thought he was going to get the Mandalorian table, but I remember he really liked it. And just seeing how much fun he was having and knowing the difference between real pinball and virtual pinball, I was like, you know what? I'm doing it. Like, this is the year. This is going to happen. I want to get a real table. Like, the virtual pinball is great. It's a great way to explore pinball, but it's not the same as the real table. So yeah, I'll say that. And then when Ralph got his Jurassic Park, that didn't help anything.
So, okay, hold on a second. So what's your real budget then that you're talking about? Are you like, okay. Here you go. Funding for money for Michael B. Pinball. Sorry, not sorry. Great conversation, guys. That's
Thanks,
right.
Ralph.
Hey, Ralph, welcome to the new 1UP Weekly with Michael B. and Justin Consultations. He's going to text me how much he hates me for saying that. That's for sure.
So I don't know if I have a budget, Justin. I'm going to be honest with you. I was looking at it, and I don't ever budget anything. I just look at how much things cost. So it sounds stupid, but I was looking at what was out there and available on the secondhand market, and I really wanted to get something that was Williams, something along the line of what I knew. And people were sending me stuff for like there was a Comet Williams table in Ontario for, I think it was around $3,000. And I was looking at some original Black Knight. They're up around 4,500. And it was something Ralph said that really stuck out to me, was the fact that in his video, he said, pinball's a good investment because it maintains its value.
That instantly became the sell point to my wife.
Yeah.
I was like, the money could just sit in our savings account or a retirement fund, or it could just be in our basement room,
Yeah.
But increasing in value. Like, I rewound it.
No, Ralph, we got our own song. We're going to do Witchy Woman. So there's a downside to that, though, too, because they do hold their investment. It isn't something that's easy to get into because you can't just go buy something that's older for cheaper. Like, you'd have to find something that's a little more poorly received in order to get an intro cabinet.
That's interesting. It goes both ways, right? It holds its value, so you're going to have to pay for it, right?
Yeah.
But hopefully it increases its value. Like, that's part of the pitch as well. Like, I think when it comes to those things, my wife is very receptive. Where I could tell her, like, here's the pitch, and I want to hear your pitch. That's kind of where this whole conversation was leading, because I think it leads to I know in the retro gaming space, like this space that we talked to, there's a lot of variety of incomes. There's a lot of variety of people that make a certain amount of money and only have so much left over. Some have more, some have less. But no matter what it is, if you have the ability to save, with enough time, you can save up money, right? And if you can't save $10 a month or $100 a month or whatever, then it's not happening, right? But if you can save a little bit of money, and I think a lot of these crowds, the people that we talk to, can, because they buy an Arcade1up and then an AtGames Legends Ultimate, right? So the budget might be there, but it's so expensive to make that leap. Like, if let's say you're going to spend $10,000 on a pinball machine, how many Arcade1ups can you buy with that?
Well, in Canada, it's roughly 10.
See, and the other thing is, if you get a real machine, it only has one game on it. You can no longer make fun of the people that buy T2, because T2 only has one game on it. You're basically buying a machine that will never, ever, ever have another game on it.
But that's why why you make sure you get the pinball table you want. That you're going to have a game that you do enjoy the gameplay. You're not going to get tired of the replayability. You're going to keep playing. Like, if I could find an Attack from Mars, there is one here, a remake that's around $13,000. I don't really want to pay that, especially where it's an used table. But I know I would get Attack from Mars, and I would never regret only having one game on that table because I love Attack from Mars.
That's interesting. Now, did you learn that by buying the Arcade1up Attack from Mars? And
no, I learned it from getting Pinball FX on my Switch and starting to play Attack from Mars there. And then I realized how much I liked the game. Then when I saw the Arcade1up Attack from Mars, I was like, oh yeah, here we go.
That's interesting. What we need is some type of club we can be a part of where, like, you pay this annual fee and you can, like, borrow a pinball machine from somebody else and you own it for a while and then you trade it off to the next person. It's like a pinball club or something like that. Does that exist?
What was the old rental service right before, like, right after Blockbuster went out of business and right before Netflix really got prevalent? Was like a red letter or something like that. Redbox, yeah. So
they still have those here in Iowa, by the way.
Should be a Redbox for pinball. Someone drops off this like $13,000 machine at your house.
Here's the problem I have. Like, I'm not. Look, I like the idea of the investment. I do like playing the pinball machines. And I enjoy playing the pinball machines I have, but here's the thing. Owning 10 or 100 or 200 games, for some reason, I don't know how to describe it. It's not there. Like, I'm going to say something I think you'll hate. I think some people would hate. Like, I know this isn't Zen's model, but what if, forget everything you know about Zen for a second, and what if you bought an Arcade1up, and there's only one game, and it's Star Wars, and you play that table And to play the next table, you gotta beat it to some level. And then the next game is the next table, like the next level. Do you know what I mean? Like Super Mario Brothers, where you're on World 1, and then all of a sudden, you're on World 2. Like, boom. Like, so you could, why now, their business model's different, right? They have the Star Wars games, and you have different tables. I get that. But I think if for a video game, if it's a video game, just make it a video game, right? Just be like, I'm starting out with Star Wars Episode 1. And you can choose, like it's a movie, right? And you get really, really far, and it's not really that hard. And next thing you know, you play for 30 minutes, it rewards you and goes, we're on Attack of the Clones, you know? And then you play really, really hard. You could even make it to Empire Strikes Back. You make it to Return of the Jedi, and then you stop playing because those other, you know, you don't need to play those other games. I don't know. Am I dumb? What do you think?
No, you're not. But I don't know if that's a different mode that you can add there. You could have your normal, just straight up pinball play, but then that could be something like a conquest mode. They could come up with like a story mode, basically.
There you go. Yeah. Okay, so, but if you jump the boat, right, you're gonna jump the shark, and to borrow the phrase, I don't know if that's popular in Canada, but let me explain what happened. But in the 50s, there was this television show, you know, with the Fonz on it.
I think it was actually the 70s that there was a television show.
I'm sorry, the 70s. Okay. Anyway. So in the 70s, jump the shark.
It was a 70s show based on the 50s.
Based on the 50s. There you go. Yeah. Okay, so he jumped the shark, and you're going to jump the shark. If you go to Pinball Machine, you're going to miss out on the Gen 2 Arcade1up. Are you ready to miss out on the ability to download more games and from Zen?
Do you think that's actually going to be what Wave 2 of Arcade1up Pinball is actually going to be?
I don't know. The way I see it, if you're going to build a pinball, you got to do it with style.
So it's going to be in a DeLorean.
Yeah. Wave 2, this is what they could do. It comes with one game. That's it.
Okay.
You buy the Arcade1up, it only comes with one Zen game. That's it. But you can pay $30 extra for game 2, $30 extra for game 3. And they just milk it. That's how you do it. And it's $1,500, but you get one game, and then you have to pay more to get extra games.
So I actually said this in a video I did there a little while ago, and I talked about it. The Arcade1up's business model is they make a machine with X amount of games on it, and they're never going to put it open so you can buy more, because that would stop you from buying the next machine. The only way that pinball, they would do the same thing is if they had to raise the price, they're going to make a really good pinball machine where you can add additional games, make it more like the Infinity game table, but it's going to come at that high price point. So maybe we're going to get better visuals. Maybe we're going to get better gameplay online, but maybe they realize they can sell it at X amount of dollars and then make more money of adding games after the fact than they can selling multiple pinball tables.
Yeah, that's, I think you're the only person I know that bought all three.
Well, you know, that's also Ralph's fault. I mean, Ralph did that video where he got his.
What?
The Star Wars video, and then Cool Toy got the Marvel video, and I didn't plan to get either of those, but I just got so caught up in the excitement, especially here in Canada, because we had the ability to get them first. Like, you guys were having a hard time getting them in. Our retailers got them. So like, while people were freaking out, they didn't know when they were going to get theirs. I could go to Walmart and order one tomorrow. So that started, you know, I started to get excited. So I ended up buying more than I intended, but I really enjoyed the experience. But I will fully admit FOMO took the wheel on that. And the fact that I just had money saved up at the time.
Right. Okay. So what's the pitch to the wife? Like, how do you sell? I had the idea where, like, today for this episode, I was going to build out a flow chart, right? And then I got lazy and I just described. So what's the flow chart? So I think the first question is, can you actually afford it? And if the answer is no, it's wait a couple months. And then you return back and you're like, can you actually? Because you have to get past that first barrier of, can you actually afford it? Okay, now if you feel you can afford it, then you got to go over to the, do I have a wife? Do I have a spouse? Does she care about the money? And then now it's you have to talk to her, right? Okay. Then you go to the decide what to say. What would you say?
My flow chart's a little bit differently because I already know this is not off the cuff, like one-time $1,000 purchase. Like I'm going to get an Arcade1up where I could just tell her really want it. I mean, this is a massive investment. We're talking in Canada, like a new vehicle costs around 30 grand. So we're not there yet because a lot of people are saying a pinball table is like buying a second car. Not so much here in Canada, but we're talking about a good chunk of change, $10,000. So, I mean, before anything like that, I would have to prove my fiscal responsibility to my wife for a long period of time, save up money, and make sure that certain other things in our life were done before we could even broach the topic of getting it. So like I said in my video when I talked about doing this, I want to get a pinball table this year, but that's going to probably be more along the lines of right up till next Christmas, after I've had a chance to go the entire year saving up and seeing where things go and see where my interest goes.
You're playing the long game on this, huh?
I am. This is not an impulse buy.
Does she know about this plan, or is this still part of the like? You're in the investment phase.
I'm in the saving investment phase right now, because if any conversation right now would be pointless until I get to a point where I have the expendable income where we can have a real conversation about doing it.
You're like, honey, so I've been here. I'll practice out. I'll be your wife, okay? And when the time comes, you have the money. What do you say? Hi, Michael. How's it going?
Honey,
I'm not as attractive as your real wife, so you're gonna have to use your imagination. But
so first thing I want to tell you is I threw out all your suitcases, and that's the first thing I want to say.
Okay, this is scaring me.
So, this past year, I haven't really been buying any big purchases for myself, anything in that entertainment line. The reason
what about
is
that camera that you bought? You bought that new camera the beginning of the year.
That's for business purposes.
Okay. Oh, that's a write-off. I see.
That's a write-off. And
continue,
I got that.
Honey.
I got that great tax return this past year because I bought all those Arcade1up cabs last year that I expensed.
Here, hold on one second. Let me birth the baby. Continue, Michael. Go ahead while I'm burping this baby.
You had to pull that one out, didn't you?
You're talking about this tax write-off, this tax write-off right here?
Yeah. So, anyways, what I'd like to do with this chunk of money I save is to get a real pinball table. The reason why is it will hold its investment. Basically, this is the same as me investing in RRSPs, that registered retirement savings plan you keep talking about you want me to get involved with.
Except this is you trying to be responsible, Michael. Is that right?
Responsibly fun.
Okay. So where are you going to put it?
Well, I was thinking about putting it down in my arcade because, I sold those two Arcade1up pinballs, the Star Wars and the Marvel. I did that to free up space for this real pinball table. I think it would look nice down in that arcade. Plus, with me getting some of these Pro Line cabs, it'll fit more in with the full-size aesthetic.
Okay. Now, remember the beginning of the year, Michael, that I had a list of things that I wanted you to accomplish, right? I've been talking about this, now granted, you did get the son's room ready.
I did.
Just like you promised. But did you complete everything else on the list?
My honey-do list is completed.
Okay, and what are those things, Mike? I need to hear them. I need to be reminded because I'm forgetful.
I replaced the front door. I'm going to go off track here now because
I've been asking you to do that for 2 years now.
So when I got my Star Wars Arcade1up, because I was already in trouble when I started buying like the first like 3 I got, and I had 4, and then I really wanted to get Star Wars, and my wife was like, "No, this is just."
Oh wait, you're not talking to your wife anymore?
No.
Okay, you broke that character. Now. Okay.
So because this actually happened, so in order to get Star Wars, in order to distract my wife enough for me to be able to order Star Wars without me getting in trouble, I ripped out the stairs in my house. There was carpet on our stairs, so I was hoping
she can't run away.
No. So we had always talked about we had this ugly carpet on our stairs. So I was hoping I would just tear up the carpet and there would be lovely hardwood stairs underneath the carpeted stairs. There wasn't. So that involved me having to tear out the entire staircase and build a new staircase with that. But once it was done,
and I've seen how you've done a dressercade. I don't know if you can do stairs. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The stairs are
I promise.
nice.
I told you I wouldn't tease you, but that slipped out.
That's okay.
You handed that one to me.
That's okay. The stairs turned out really nice. So they're hardwood, Nick Madsen. So there would be a lot of stuff like that. I would have projects around the house. I would probably have to put up a new fence. She doesn't really like the outside work on the house. So I would probably have to replace the kitchen cabinets. And that would be part of the process of me justifying being able to put money into the house and then also put money into entertainment.
Yeah. Yeah, you're making a good point, because I have a list of things that I'm supposed to accomplish this year as well. And maybe I should probably work on those no matter what, whatever, no matter what the plan is. But that's tough. Here's funny. I've made videos like this before where we talk about that. Like, hey, I want to get this pinball machine. There's all these different options. This ended up being a little more expensive than we originally thought it was going to be. In your case, you're going to buy one, too. And then I ended up buying this one. You bought it as well. And it's not like any of these companies give us anything free, at least not me. And I think you've also are on the raw deal of most of those. So we got to pay for all that. But then I've gotten comments from people that are like, dude, just buy it anyway. Who cares what the wife thinks? And I don't know. Like, what's the answer to that?
I don't know, man. Like, there's some people out there that they take a real hard line on things. Like, I've seen that too, where I'll make a comment like, oh, geez, I can't buy that. I got to talk to my wife first. And they're like, oh, you need to get your yada, yada, yada out of her purse and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's such a crazy comment. Obviously, we're partners in life. We have children together and we're building a house. Me going to spend X amount of dollars on something stupid without talking about whether or not we need something is just ridiculous. That's not
those
how
are the people.
Yeah.
Those are the people who get divorced.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember, we had this, my wife and I had this conversation a long time ago. There was this there's this number, right? Yeah. And that number's changed over the time, but where it was like, yeah, obviously you don't have to talk to me about this price. And it goes both ways. Like, we're also just trying to keep each other in check. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because being in a partner relationship there, you can easily get tunnel vision and focused on something and get passion involved. And then you go do something kind of dumb, right? And your best friend can be there for you to be like, wait a second. Let's sit on this for a little bit, because maybe, there you go, like a big purchase equals discussion, right? And definitely there's been some Arcade1up cabinets that I've bought without really having much of a conversation with my wife about, because I just felt as though she didn't care. It's like, oh, there's this deal. It's $250. I'm going to get this one, just yet another cabinet. It came in. She's like, oh, what's this one? I was like, oh, it's the Tempest one. I got a pretty good deal from Kohl's. She's like, oh, that's right. The one I can use the Kohl's cash on. I'm like, yeah, go ahead. And I totally burned that Kohl's cash money too, which makes me feel bad. But she just didn't spend it, She didn't spend it. And I was like, hey, you gonna buy some stuff? She's like, you can use it. She didn't really care. Anyway, so it's time, guys. It's time. Let's see if I can pull this up, because it's not just CT Jason that called in. We got a few more call-ins, and want to get a couple other opinions, and then we can discuss them. Here we go.
I will say, like, a lot of people, while you're bringing that up, a lot of people are talking about, Papa Brad brings up small purchase, not a big deal. Big purchase equals the discussion.
Right.
I work for a charity. There's an echo here.
Go ahead.
I work. Can everybody hear the echo, or is it just me?
No. It should be good now.
Okay. So I work for a charity as the executive director. And what happens is I have a spending limit, basically. So I can spend up to X amount of dollars before I have to bring it to the attention of my board. And it's kind of like that in a marriage. You have what's considered to be reasonable spending, right? That you're not really going to have a conversation on, because it's not going to impact overall. But you hit that point where, let's say it's, $2,000. Maybe before you make a $2,000 purchase, that's when you're going to have the conversation with your wife. Depending on what your household income is, you set that level at different points.
Yeah, every company I've worked for, there's been this like, I think at Dish it was like, if you spent more than $100,000 on a, contract or whatever, like you had to talk to the CEO, right, to get that approval. But there was different level of grading. Like, okay, if your contract it's $10,000, like the manager could approve it. Anyway, so let's check out this voicemail. Here it is. I thought it was here. Hold on. Here it is.
What's okay? It's your boy Rev here from Put Your Quarters on the Glass. Long-time listener, second-time caller, but never somebody who makes it to the actual show. It's weird. Nonetheless, the topic of virtual tables versus real tables, I would highly recommend if the conversation is even honestly about a real table, you go that route. You will not regret it. You pick the best one. You have them. You try them out. You make sure that the one that you select is your baby. And then you ride that thing till the wheels fall off because it's amazing. Right now, there's a few that I'm looking at, but don't tell me the sensation.
All right. Thank you so much. Put Your Quarters on the Glass for calling in. Okay, I think we're getting a roadmap for. I hope this is helping out another people, because what I've learned so far from this episode, from you, from people that have called in, is that you have to maybe it is like buying a car.
Yeah.
Like you got to go test drive. Right? And so, Mike, what have you test drive so far?
The only thing I've played in the last little while were both pinball tables that I were considering making an offer to my friend for, but he ended up selling them before I had a chance. So my friend Mike Dalton, he had Star Wars Episode 1 pinball machine. So you remember the other machine with Revenge from Mars that had that unique body and look? He had that, and then he got rid of that. That was one, but I would imagine that's very hard to keep going. He also had another Williams table that I played a little bit. Other than that, I haven't, because I said there's not a lot here. I haven't played a lot else recently, but my pinball friend I told you about earlier, he's looking at possibly selling one of his tables coming up now, which is a 2012 Avengers Pro model. So he's looking to offload that. I'm going to go, we're kind of caught up in COVID right now, so maybe not right away, but when it cools down a little bit, I'm going to go over to his place and check that out, because he's given me first opportunity to possibly buy that.
So that if that happens, the purchase could come a little earlier. Would that kind of, you would have to maneuver your plans?
I would have to see if he'd figure out some way that I could do some financing through him. Maybe I could be his butler for a period of time.
I wonder if then you'd go to your wife with a different conversation. You're like, okay, I worked out this deal with this guy, and there's obviously variables to this plan that if something comes out of the woodwork and it's like, I can get an Attack from Mars for tomorrow for like $6,000. Obviously, we're going to have to change the strategy quite a bit, because if something comes up that's a surefire, like this has to happen, there's no other way this is going to happen. We'll figure it out. All right, let's do another voicemail, and don't talk, Mike, because you're totally going to echo while I'm playing this voicemail. Here we go.
Hey, everybody, it's TT Jason. Hey, everybody, spectate mode has to happen on Killer Instinct and on Mortal Kombat for my boy Zohar. Make it happen, Arcade1up. It's TT Jason, goodbye.
Okay, hold on, because this clearly...
Hey, everybody, it's TT Jason.
He's good in the intro, but then it falls apart. Like, you got to be like, hey, it's CT Jason. You know? What's going on, everybody? You know, it's got to have that. Hold on, I got to turn my compressor way up. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's CT Jason. No, I want a virtual. I had to crank that compressor all the way to the top. Anyway. Okay, well, there's no comment that we can have related to Zohar calling in. So hold on one mic. Let's do the last voicemail of the night, and then we'll review some chats.
Hey, howdy, Bachelor Brian Stratton here. Just wishing everyone a wonderful stream. Make sure to comment, like, subscribe, and be proactive. And yep, have a good night. Later.
I love that guy. He's such a nice guy. So let's go through our So if you don't know, Mike, like I'm going to read my first super chat. It's not really a super chat, but I'm going to read the super chat, and it's here from Fishby. He goes, I heard there's an Arcade1up look-alike on tonight's show. Mike, maybe you could talk real quick about the history of you did it first, right?
No. I'm not even going to say it that, because what happened was I found this toque that I used to have there a while ago. And for those of you who don't know, toque is a word we use in Canada for knitted cap. So I found my toque.
Why?
I found my toque the other day. And as some of you might know, there's this season outside happening called winter. So obviously I started wearing my toque. And then on top of wearing my toque everywhere, my hair got really long, and it's like a Brillo pad, so it was unmanageable. So sometimes I'd want to make a video really quickly, but I didn't want to get a shower and try to figure out how to comb my hair. So I just throw the toque on. And then Justin and a couple other people were like, oh, well, I see what he's doing here now. He's trying to copy RGT 85.
Right. I'm gonna share it with everybody. All right, Mike, here it comes. I'm gonna do it. All right. So this is the I'm gonna admit it. The person that's been teasing is me, and this is what I do. This thing with Mike where anytime I Photoshop all these things, I could go on a list of everything I Photoshop for you, but I think this might have been my
this is my favorite.
You look a little familiar, right?
Yeah. So, anyways, I'm friends with Sean, have been for a long time, and I put it up on my social media, and like I openly said, my friends are kind of busting my balls, telling me I'm copying RGT. Like, get a life. And I think people took it a lot more serious than what it was, because they were like, "Oh, these haters," and I was like, guys, I said friends. My friends. I wouldn't still be calling them friends if I was really upset about it.
Yeah, I like in the thread, I was like, those people are so mean. I will show one more. I was like, come on, Mike. You can do better than that. Like, make more videos like RGT, like this, you know? The top 3 games for the retro gamer. Look, in 4 hours, you got 32,000 views.
Wow.
Actually, to be honest, did you notice the details? Hashtag RGT85. But seriously, dude, I will say this publicly, like, some of the best content you do are the voiceovers about video games. And it would be really cool to hear from you a top 3 retro games on the Switch. That would be a cool video. Like, I would watch that twice.
I've actually talked to, I don't know if you were involved in the chat, or maybe it was just B at the time, but I've talked about that. Like, lately, I've really got into playing retro games again because of the Switch. I bought all those controllers. So I noticed there's a bunch of games on there that are, of course, from my background, hidden gems on the NES that they added to this library that are probably overlooked games by most of the people going through the Nintendo Switch Online. So I intend to. It's just finding time, because that kind of stuff is not something you can do a talking head video on. Maybe some people can. I can't. So that's more, I'm going to record the footage and write a script and do more of a produced video. So that's just going to take a little bit more time.
Maybe you could do, to tie it back into our theme, top 3 pinball games that you can play on your Nintendo Switch. How about that?
Well, I can't honestly do that video. I could do top 3 Zen pinball games you can play on your Nintendo Switch, because that's all I own.
Yeah. So Papa Brad, he says, my advice is support places that support real pinball. And you said you have a little bit of struggle with that, if I understand that correctly? There's not a lot of places in your area?
There's not a lot of places. There's only one operator, which is my buddy, who has a couple pinball tables out at a place called the Geek Bear. So he's got Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is actually a pretty good table. So and the Geek Bear is right next to my wife's work. It's just... with the pandemic, I'm like, and especially my wife being pregnant now, I'm super nervous to go anywhere, because I don't want to bring that home to her. But like, no, I always mean to get out and go to these places. But going to a normal place like Dave and Buster's, or like something like a Barricade, we don't have that here. And maybe I'll open a Barricade one day. Maybe that's an idea.
Maybe
we don't have one.
Hey, that's interesting. You know, a friend of mine always told me, like, You know, like I would have a business idea, and I'm like, I don't want to do a business. I don't want to do that business because it already exists. And then he would always say, "There's already 4 Italian restaurants in town. You can make a 5th one. There's nothing wrong with that, right?"
Yeah.
But given the opportunity to be like, I'm the only one in town, that when it comes to like a business, that'd be pretty cool. Like I've actually thought about like the guy that I work with for the arcade locally. Like I talk to my daughter a lot. We go on these long drives, and I seriously was like, what if I bought that arcade? That like we own it.
Yeah.
And I do it. And I remember saying to her, what if by the time you're 18, that's what we do together? Like she's 18, and I go to that guy and go, how much you want for your whole business? And I go to the bank and I get the loan, and then that's Evelyn's job. Like that's her first job, helping me run this business. And she, you know what she said to me? She goes, okay, Dad, if we do that, we need console games. We need to do tournaments. You need to get a whole bunch of, what'd she say, GameCubes? There's this whole thing with GameCube and tournaments and Smash Brothers. She's like, I could run Smash Brother tournaments. And I'm like, you're the best daughter ever, and you're the best business partner. Like, this is, I mean, she's like, I could do all the bookkeeping. I'm good at organizing. I'm like, seriously. And I went and told my wife, I was like, I think we're going to buy an arcade in the next 5 years. Are you in? She's like, oh, we'll talk about it when the time comes.
You seem to have a very supportive family. I think you'll get your pinball table. Mine up in the air.
Well, I don't, it's not 100%. It's weird because like, I do know that it's timing, right? Like I've gone to my wife before and been like, hey, I want to do this. And she's just in a bad mood. And she's just, no, right? But there's other times she's just like when it comes to like YouTube, I think we've talked about this before. Like I'll lose motivation, I'll get depressed or whatever, and my wife is all like, just make more videos. What's wrong with you? Just go in there and make videos. Just do it. Stop. Just make the video. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll go make the video. Anyway, super chat from Akuma Rev, 112 watchers and 26 thumbs. Smash that thumbs up all. We get to 100. Michael B will have to get a real pinball machine.
I'll tell my wife. That's the law with that's the law with YouTube. If there's 100 likes, I got to get a pinball.
That's right. And of course, we got a lot of these chats. It's One Up Weekly is finally back. I'm glad to see One Up Weekly is back. Retro Ralph with a super chat. If you guys play Closing Time, we have serious problems. That's our song. You know what's really funny is when One Up Weekly was clearly going away, I had this conversation with Ralph about me taking the name. And I was like, this show, instead of Home Arcade Podcast, was going to be One Up Weekly, and that was the talk. I couldn't do it. I wish, it's weird, I'm torn. That name is so good, and I would love to do it, but it's just not the same without Ralph. So I was like, let the name die with whatever we had, and maybe we'll do a One Up annually. But Home Arcade Podcast is the dumbest name for a show, while One Up Weekly is the greatest name for a show. I was like, oh man, Anyway. And in Retro Ralph, he brought up this thing. Do you remember that? We looked into this metamorphic thing where it was a pinball machine that was mechanical but could swap out parts. Like it can become another table.
No, I don't remember that one.
Yeah, it's some company was working on it. I don't really know if it's a real thing. That I'll have to look into it again.
So I don't know how much time you want to go longer, but there's a couple other things I wanted to talk to you about. Like one is with the Mandalorian pinball table itself. One of the reasons I'm so fixated on that, and this is something I didn't get a chance to talk to you about, was the fact that you're looking at all these used pinball tables, and I talked about how hard it is to get a used pinball table at a really good price because they maintain their value. When I was looking at all those options and how expensive it was, I was like, you know what? I could just get a new. I don't have to worry about maintenance up front. There's a little bit of a warranty there. So maybe if I'm going to be spending X amount of dollars anyways, maybe I want to go in the new direction.
It holds its value, right? It holds its value.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's something that you thought about as well. Like when you were looking at Mandalorian, did you weigh out how much the older tables were compared to, or was it you just saw Mandalorian and said, I like that?
It's the sale. At work, I do this as well. Like, I'm a software developer, but a lot of it is communicating with other departments, and we'll come up with ideas. And and I'll work it out with other people, and it's all sales really. It's all we're gonna code, but it's like we're gonna architect it this way. But it's about the presentation and how you pitch it. And sometimes you have to make compromises. Like, even though like this might be the best way to architect it, sometimes you're like, well, if I switch it to this, it'll be easier. And that part actually doesn't really matter. It would be better if it was the other way, but I'll lose. I won't be able to pitch it, right? So you go in and you explain to the executive management that this is how we could orchestrate the entire thing. You use the right buzzwords, whatever, and you get it greenlit, right? Boom. And it's like, okay, me and 3 other developers are going to build that for 3 months. It's a great feeling when you get the sale. It's like a sale, but we're not in sales. But it's one of the jobs of being a tech lead, right? It's like that with my wife. It's like Mandalorian is like, it's easy to close. Yeah. The compromise is maybe I could look for other cabinets or other pinball machines, but if I go in with a different lead, if I go in with my foot of going, like maybe I'd like to get the episode 1 Star Wars. Like my daughter, they have that at the local pinball machine. It's like my daughter's favorite. It has this mix between, it has like a screen in it. It's almost like a hologram, and it's really cool. But I wouldn't be able to sell that title to my wife. But Mandalorian, and that look, the look of that, what is it? Let's see if I can pull it up. Yeah, the Baby Yoda, right? I have it here.
Yeah.
There it is. I mean, that looks so good, and I hear the game is fun to play.
It is. That's the next thing I was going to bring it up to you, because I watched so much coverage on this, and it apparently was done by the same guy. I think I might be wrong and getting myself in trouble now, but the same guy who did Attack from Mars. So it has a similar game style where the gameplay is all up the middle. So that's the other thing that pulled me in. I was like, wait a minute, this has a feel like Attack from Mars.
Ah, stop it, Mike.
I know.
It. like you're closing it for me now.
I know. That's what I do.
All right, hold on. We got a super chat from Hobby Hands that says, if or you never buy a real pinball, use other options, and never know what you are missing, you save money and still enjoy the virtual pin. You could just ignore it. Just here's the other thing I want to come back to, though. It's so expensive. Like, what else could you do with that money, though, in the gaming space?
Well, I could buy 10 Arcade1ups. We discussed this. Oh, there was another.
You could buy all pro lines, for this year and maybe a little bit of next year.
You could buy a lot, or you could buy something that will retain its value and probably be much more meaningful in the end. That's kind of the way I look at it. There was something else I wanted to mention to you too. There's another option out there that none of us have really discussed, because there is a cheaper in the middle pinball line somewhere. You remember Ice Home Arcades became a big thing a little while ago.
Yeah.
And they offered it's a mechanical pinball table, but it's actually smaller. I think it sells somewhere around the $4,000 to $5,000 mark. They've got a Star Wars one.
Ice? So you're talking about on here, they have a...
Yeah.
So I've seen the one like you can get at Walmart, or like on Walmart's website. It's like $5,000. But I thought that was a Stern.
Yeah, it's still a Stern. It's like a baby Stern, basically.
I see. Is that the one B has?
I'm not sure. I thought B had the Pro. His Star Wars was a Pro model, but I could be wrong.
But it's new, so you still have that warranty, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not finding it just off the... But I see what you're saying. See, and that one's like it has... It's Star Wars, and it has the little the Death Star on it, right?
Yeah, I think so. Conti Dinda here in the chat says it's the Stern Home model.
Stern Home model. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, is that something that you had considered?
I don't know if we can get them here in Canada. That's the other thing, right? Like with the new pinball tables, I went to Stern's website, and then that led me to Canadian retailers, and I'm stuck with whatever they bring into the country, basically.
Yeah. I see. Retro Ralph says Ice resells the home version of Stern. The Jurassic Park one is actually awesome. No coin door though, so it's for home use only. Is that part of the rules? Like, is that a thing? Like, You can't have a real coin door and call it home arcade or something?
Do you remember video rental stores? Like,
Sure.
do you remember the whole thing? So I used to be pretty close friends with the guy who lived next to us, owned a video store. And if we ever had trouble getting something like a Nintendo game or a Super Nintendo game, sometimes he would go through his distribution route. But the people in the stores couldn't do the same thing that anybody else did. Like, around the 90s, if we wanted a movie, we'd just go to Walmart and pay $20.
Right.
They had to buy a very specific version through a distributor that ended up costing like $300.
That's right. Hundreds of dollars, right?
So I think they're trying to differentiate the same way there.
So Paul says, how about One Up Weekly with guest host Michael B? And then he just shows up every week.
It's funny. We did kind of talk about that, Justin.
We did.
But I threw out the suggestion that if Ralph can't do it all the time, why don't you guys just do the show and Ralph can come on when he wants, and then you guys can have somebody else. That was my suggestion.
Right.
No one wanted to see it go away. I'm just going to be honest, Justin. You know that.
It's so weird, right? Because like, I hear you, but I don't really understand. Like, if Ralph's not in it, then Ralph's not in it.
I know.
Then it's just a show. Like, if I rename this show One Up Weekly, then you got it. Except for Ralph's not here. Right?
But Ralph,
does it need to be on the One Up Weekly channel? It's just the name now. It's just the name. No, I think I know what it is. I know what it is. This is what it is. It has to start out with, for it to be One Up Weekly, it has to be, welcome to the One Up Weekly live. Yeah. And now it's One Up Weekly. That's all it takes. Except for it's not.
I know.
It's not, because Ralph's not here.
Is Journey still Journey?
That doesn't make any sense.
You know it does.
But they're playing Journey songs and they're in concert, right? So to be the same, it's like, okay, now start acting like Ralph.
I can't. I'm
see.
Like...
Anyway, well, I appreciate the love either way, because and end with closing time. I can't. I made that promise to Ralph that I would never play closing time unless he was there. And I think we'll do that eventually. I think we'll do that. See, Lewis it's got to be Ralph and Justin.
Yeah, and everybody agrees with that. But there's got to be some way you guys can do it where you're still doing it, and then every now and then you guys might do a together show. No one wanted to see it go away. Get back together. Do it again. Whatever it takes.
You're talking to the wrong person.
All right. I'll talk to Stringer. It's
There
Stringer, isn't it? It's all right.
You got to talk to Stringer. Stringer's the barrier. Anyway, thank you so much, Michael, for coming on. Not the One Up Weekly, but the Home Arcade Podcast. And I really appreciate your time. You've really helped me look at pinball in a new light. I still don't know what I want to do. I know what I could do. I think I know how I could get a pinball machine, but I don't know if I want it yet. If that makes sense.
Yeah, obviously, the big thing for you is you need to get out there, play some real pinball, and find out if anything really grabs your attention. And you've got yourself seemingly put in a box where you can only buy one pinball table. So I would advise you to play that pinball table.
There's a local pinball shop that resells Stern, and I was going to go there to see maybe they have that Mandalorian table there, and I could play it, or go to the local bars and see.
Do you watch Gamester 81 on YouTube? Another longtime YouTuber. He actually just picked up the Mandalorian table. I can't remember what he let go. I think he sold 2 of his real arcade cabinets to get Mandalorian, or maybe he let his Data East Batman go. I can't remember exactly, but he just got the Mandalorian, so you might want to check him out.
Yeah.
See what he's got going on with that. Big Star Wars guy himself.
Yeah. Hey, do you got time for another show? We'll go live in 2 seconds. I got a new subject. You ready?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. We'll see you guys in just a little bit. We're going to come back up with a new topic. All right. We'll see you.